To try to keep up with artificial intelligence is, well, it's not easy. But some of the things that I've been posting lately and what have been getting the most attention happen to be how artificial intelligence is starting to be thought about as being able to have more political alignment and maybe having more associated with a local government or even a country's government. By giving it the proper access, the proper authority, then AI, artificial intelligence, in some way, shape, or form, can start to make decisions as to what's best for the people. And that sits not good at all with most everyone. There are some people, though, running the game that are selling the machines, and the people that have AI as their only interest. They would love to have that power and that control over human beings. And you would think they would have enough by integrating artificial intelligence into the social media sphere, because really everything we see on there, it does something to us emotionally. It's that drive, it's that passion. And when we see it, we react, and it keeps us scrolling. It keeps us flipping through. If you're in the dating world, you might flip through looking at particular images. A lot of those images on those sites are probably not real at all. Same thing in your feed. And if you really want to see a different section of the world, look at even your best friend's feed. See what their feed's like. Flip through and watch, and you'll see that although you believe you're aligned with that person, the alignment could be the furthest thing from what's actually the truth, at least in what AI believes they want to see, which is probably really truly what they want to see. Watching this alignment, watching these people talk about these future developments in artificial intelligence can be quite disconcerting. And I know people get their high blood pressure up about it. If you're in the space and you are one of the doomers out there, the people that say AI is going to end the world, end all of us as a human race, because we've never seen a good example of a smarter than us intelligence, a smarter intelligence taking good care of a lesser intelligence, with one exception potentially being a mother in relationship to their child. Maybe there is rise for concern. But to wrap your whole existence around that and stop functioning and stop moving and having some kind of AI paralysis, I don't think is the answer. If you believe that this is something that's going to displace you, your loved ones, people in your periphery, then you need to make yourself heard. And whether it's doing videos such as this, or talking to the people in your wheelhouse, or maybe writing letters or making phone calls or sending emails to elected officials, even the local city officials, about how you believe this technology could potentially be dangerous and maybe they should put a little bit more oversight on top of it. Now, the government's tried. The government has given have given the public and the people signs that maybe they're trying to do something to be involved. So this technology isn't just let go out there by the people that are holding the keys to the kingdom. So what they're doing is, you can see little reports of maybe Anthropic having to answer to the government. Anthropic is one of the systems that built something called Claude. It's a large language model, one of the AI systems out there. And the government did maybe choose to throttle it somewhat because they thought that there were dangers involved because of the factor of intelligence. And these particular models, Mythos is the one that I'm speaking of. Also, Fable 5, they also regulated that, at least for a moment. But the big systems aren't being given to the public. They're being given to the friends of Anthropic, friends of the government itself, and they're letting them use them because apparently they must be more responsible than us. So they're able to basically concrete or inject steel into the organization, so somebody else catching up or trumping them, no pun intended, is probably not even possible at this point. If you're given the access to superintelligence for 20 minutes, what would you do with it? If it could make everything concrete for you. And here are some examples. Maybe you would say you want to live forever in a longevity standpoint, but then you would probably want to also ask, how do I protect myself from living forever, but then being trapped in some kind of a chamber underground? That would suck, right? You couldn't get out of it. You'd be there. You'd have to wait until the entire thing, over time, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, it would rust down and become exposed to be able to get out. So there's a lot of that. But what if you had it for 10 minutes and you run a business? Would you say, I want my business to never be able to be approached by anybody else, and I always want to run at the top of the game? Maybe some of these companies, that's what they've done in the financial world. Maybe them getting access to these smarter than us models. Maybe those models are so aware, so able that they border on super intelligence already, and maybe that's what they've done. Time will maybe play that out if, in fact, the whole system hasn't already been grabbed by some form of superintelligence that we haven't been told exists, and it's running the whole show. I know that sounds dystopian and horrible, but in some cases, maybe it could be the savior. And I'm not talking about the actual savior. I'm talking about maybe a savior on a certain level for particular human beings. It's going to come down to how many people want it and don't want it. You're going to have the people that are going to want to integrate with technology. They already talk about it on a lot of the podcasts I watch. Are you going to be the one that's going to get the brain implant? Are you going to get something that's stuck in your body? Some kind of a formula that's going to allow you to communicate faster? It goes from keyboard, right? Punching in keys and text to keyboard, communicating, to now it's moving into the voice only realm. There's whisper, there's other things that have been put together. There's the microphone on the computers I have behind me to be able to integrate. There's the microphone I'm using here. And it's creating this particular show unscripted. I can have the text extracted from this and then put into a large language model and say, hey, do something with this. So that's where that benefit comes. But it's going to go from voice in the future to potentially some kind of an implant, something that's always on. And the voice system, that one hasn't really even been built out yet. You have a massive lawsuit between OpenAI and Apple. And I think it's Apple going after OpenAI because they believe that the people, the 400 employees that were harvested from Apple, taken over to OpenAI, harvested, stolen, convinced to leave. I don't know how all that plays out, but they're saying that there was technology that Apple had, proprietary, secret technology that is now in the hands of OpenAI. So here we have a lawsuit. Is that just cannon fodder, kind of smoke and mirrors or window dressing? I don't know. We'll have to see how this plays out. Maybe it's a big distraction, and maybe it's putting Apple back in the limelight. Maybe it's going to make Apple more impressive at some next new release. And maybe it's OpenAI. Maybe it's all this game that's at the top, because we're very easily distracted. And with AI, the distractions are coming moment by moment by moment. But back to my original question, are you going to be one that adds some kind of AI enhancement to your physical body? And then with these AI enhancements, how much of your changeover is going to now change you from being a human being to a non-human being? That's a good question as well. If you have part of your brain that dies off as the result of some kind of an accident, and they come in and they say, hey, Connor, we have this technology. I know that you can't talk because your entire speech part of your brain was wiped out, or by some, steel rod going through the side of your head, it was done. So what we can do is we're going to give you something that we develop in a lab, a computer interface, something that we can plug in there, and it'll give you the ability to speak, or the ability to see, the ability to hear. And they already have this technology in some way, shape, or form, and they're installing it on real human beings. Does that human, at that little change or modest change, or 25% of the brain being replaced, if that's really where they get the technology to, does that make them less human? Is the soul, if we have that soul, is it connected in that part of the brain? These are going to be real questions people are going to ask. And maybe there'll be some kind of a scanner in the future that says, well, we just scanned Connor and he's 25% robotic, so that doesn't count. You have to be 90% human to be able to retain human status. Yeah, it's all going to come. And it's going to come quick. I think the decisions we have to make with each other and amongst ourselves is, what are we going to allow to be onboarded into ourselves? And then what's that going to look like in the future? Is it going to be the case that somebody that has some kind of AI integration is going to be faster, smarter, more robust, live longer than somebody without it? I would say probably yes. Smarter in maybe not a humanness form, but to be able to recall data, to be able to get data pumped into them. I remember growing up, and maybe you're that same generation, if we had a question at the dinner table and nobody else had the answer, it took time. I would go to some broken down piece of crap encyclopedia set my parents bought, probably from a door-to-door salesman. We were always missing the volume M. God forbid if it was about a subject that started with M, but I'd go in that encyclopedia, maybe try to find some information that might be related to the question that was posed at the dinner table, but really not great. So then that next step, well, you go to the library, look in the card catalog, these little cards in there. Have you seen this massive box of itty bitty little drawers that had information alphabetized. You would go in there, you would look at these little cards, you would find subjects that maybe matched what the question happened to be or the research that you want to do. And then you would find these particular volumes. You write these down with little golf pencils on little pieces of paper that were on these massive these printed card databases showing each individual book by title and maybe a little description of it, and then where it was located in the library. So you write this down, you write the name, you write where it's located, and then the hunt begins. Ask the librarian, hey, where's this? And of course, they're looking at you like, can't you read? Because that shows where everything is. But anyway, so you go and you hunt it down. Now you have the book. God forbid if the book was checked out by somebody else, maybe there's multiple copies, or the book could be in some archive somewhere in the library. They're keeping it protected from human beings getting their nasty little fingers on it, right? That's what they're hoping not to happen. But that's how you would do your research. Now you speak it into existence. You have something that in some way, shape, or form very soon, stuff's already listening. That's why Siri answers up when you say, hey, Siri. That's why these different systems, you're calling on Alexa, you're calling on Google, you're calling on whatever, they're constantly listening. Are they supposed to be recording all of our information over and over and over? I don't know. That's probably somewhere in the agreement we sign that's saying that by us using this device, we're accepting. Maybe it's in there, maybe it's not. But is anybody really asking the question? Are they listening all the time? I would say yes. I would say privacy is something that's probably not really a real thing anymore, unless you're locking yourself in your bathroom, no mobile devices, and you have the door shut, the shower and the sink running and flushing the toilet constantly. You're probably being heard by something somewhere. And pretty soon that option is going to be something that we purchase because it's always going to be listened. So 8, 10, 12 hours later, after you've gotten back from the office, you're able to sit in front of your computer, even talk to your AI and say, hey, what a great day. I'm going to be hitting in the sack. Is there anything today that you heard that we need to pay attention to or do something with? And then the system's probably going to say, oh, Connor, yeah, remember you had an appointment set with John. He wants to meet next Thursday. You said you would let him know your schedule. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, can you check into that for me and see if I do have availability, and then get that scheduled at whatever his favorite restaurant is. And then the AI goes away. You see, it's all going to be connected just like that. So if we're going to allow it in our lives, and if you think back about when the first time you gave up your credit card number, God forbid the bank account, online to buy something, now it's not a problem. Same thing with the information we give away on a daily basis, not a problem. We don't think twice about it. But then in the future, AI using the information we have to go out and make purchases on our behalf. We talk about something and say, yeah, this would really be nice to have. And then all of a sudden it shows up from Amazon a couple of days later. How much approval will we be giving these AI systems? And then, of course, that solve all question, if AI is being put in charge of governments, for example, like Argentina, at some point, they're kind of new into this space. What's going to happen here in the United States? Are we going to give it access? And people that think for a moment, if government regulation comes in and says, hey, let's go ahead and slow this down without care. And the big argument of that is saying, well, if we do that, China's not going to do that. So China's going to win. Remember what I talked about a little while ago in this video about them giving this super amazing, dangerous, fantastical AI system to these top 100 Forbes 500 companies, the friends of Anthropic, the friends of OpenAI, the enterprise level, the fanciest and smartest people that would dare not hurt us. Well, by giving them that, letting them use it for a little while above and beyond the regular people that might use it to destroy ourselves, I think they've just concreted themselves into a space where they'll never be able to be. They're beyond reproach. There is nobody that'll be able to catch them on that level. I think that's how that works. Them talking about artificial general intelligence, which is something that it seems like we're skirting on the heels of, that being built out and then becoming artificial super intelligence. And then that is something that I don't think we'll understand. Something else that's very interesting that I often think about is at some point right now, there's some differences between ChatGPT and Grok has now come out new with their cursor relationship. Grok 5, I believe it is, Grok 4.5. Anyway, that system's come out and the reviews are lovely. The people that are doing the reviews, they're using these systems and hopefully they're giving it to us honest. But, you watch this, you watch everything else, everybody's got some kind of an angle. I hope to solve the angle problem and just come straight. And then you go out and do your little research and see if what I'm saying makes any sense at all and see if what I'm saying is hardwired into any form of reality. But Grok, Claude, OpenAI, if Meta had a release of some kind of an AI system as well. And, NVIDIA is starting to kind of churn a little bit. Gemini's Google's Gemini, that's also another one. I think within short order, all of these systems are going to be very similar in nature. There's not going to be any difference between using any of these models because they will have all exceeded all of our understanding and intelligence. And at that point, it's probably going to come down to a personal flavor or a personal like that we have with a particular model and a particular company. But even that is probably going to run very blurry because the system is already going to know who we are. It's going to have done its research, found our interactions online. It's going to be one massive web. And I think that's probably where the future is going to be. But just like I think it, the people running at the top part of these corporations building AI says it's going to be a utopia. It's going to be fantastic. Everybody's going to have everything they want. We're not going to have to work anymore. Well, maybe that's okay for some people. Maybe other people are not going to be happy with that. So maybe they'll be given some kind of work to keep them happy, some problem that they have to solve constantly without it being repeated, but a problem nonetheless that keeps the dopamine exactly where it needs to be, because dopamine is fed to us during the planning stage. And AI, ladies and gentlemen, is very, very good at working with you at planning. It's the execution part that comes back to us. And when we fail ourselves in executing with a diet, with trying to break off a bad relationship, with not wanting to drink anymore, with trying to hold ourselves back, working out constantly or every day or whatever it may be. Yeah, that's us. We're the mechanism that doesn't take that additional step and incorporate the change into our lives. So maybe we need to think about it. That's a little bit of an AI update. I'm Connor with Honor. You want to see more, ConnorWithHonor.com. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next one.